Emanuel Celler and the Immigration Law of 1965. Emanuel Celler grew up in Brooklyn, New York, where he was surrounded by immigrants from different countries. His experiences with them convinced him that America was or should become a melting pot because it worked best that way. In 1924, he became a member of the House of Representatives for 49 years, where he mainly worked on immigration and civil rights issues. On the one hand, we publicly announce the equality of all peoples. On the other hand, in our immigration laws, we embrace and practice these very theories we abhor and verbally condemn. This quote is where Emanuel calls out how they all said they are a melting pot and welcome all the immigrants, while in the 1924 immigration law, they really only let in immigrants from 3 European countries. The quote on the right speaks for itself. He had fought against the unjust restriction of immigration. The 1924 immigration law set a quota system based on national origins. This quota provided immigration visas to 2% of the total number of people from mainly 3 countries in the U.S. as the 1890 national census. Statistics showed that 70% of immigration went to Northern Europeans, while very little immigration from Southern and Eastern Europe and Asia and Africa. Celler opposed this law in 1924 because it wasn't fair to the other potential immigrants. These are two examples of two countries who feel they aren't getting a fair chance. There were very few people from India in the United States who saw that there was no chance of their relatives or their friends to come here, and they were protesting in 1944. On the right, it is a similar case, but with the Italians. There were actually very few Italians in the United States at the time. Celler pushed for immigration changes forever. Finally, with the help of the civil rights movement and with the help of more progressive politicians at the top, change came in the form of the Hart-Celler Act, which became the Immigration Act of 1965. It was called the Hart-Celler Act until it became a law. This picture is Lyndon B. Johnson signing the Immigration Act of 1965 at the Statue of Liberty. In the picture, there are multiple important people. To the right, there are the two Kennedy brothers, Robert and Edward, who were in the Senate. Celler pushed hard for this act in the House with the support of the Kennedy brothers, who were pushing for it in the Senate. In the end, the vote was 318 to 25 in the House. The Hart-Celler Act. This act changed the entire nature of immigration. Emphasized 3 principles to let in immigrants regardless of country of origin, which is employment, family reunification, and refugees. It didn't work out how they thought it would at the time, because as time went on, Europeans lost interest in coming, and it was because they were okay and satisfied with where they were. But at the same time, there were people from Asia and Latin America and other countries who were not okay. It was a great system that was opened, but they just were not expecting that there would be so many Asian and Latin American people coming over. Before and after the Immigration Act of 1965. To the left, it is obvious that 86% of Europeans were in the United States. But after the Immigration Act, the European percent dropped down to 13%, but the Asian and Latin American went up. It went up to 39 and 43%. In 1924 to 1965, the number of immigrants kept dropping gradually, while after the 1965 Act was passed, the number of immigrants went up substantially year by year, but the difference was that they were coming from different parts of the world. Presidents and senators received lots of credit for the new Immigration Act of 1965, but Emanuel Celler was the real guy who was working behind the scenes over many years to lay the groundwork for the changes that led to a much fairer immigration policy.